What is the crack, folks? Welcome along to episode number 78 of the Gym Advisors podcast with your host, Andy Collar. That's me. Before we kick into today's episode, let me quickly remind you that the gymadvisors.ie is your one-stop shop for fitness, where you can connect with the experts, learn from the experts, and even buy the equipment you need to smash your goals. Now, after all that, I'm delighted to be joined for today's episode by Shane O'Grady. Shane, how the hell are you?
Great, Andy. Thanks a million for having me on.
I'm delighted to have you. Delighted to have you. Looking forward to this. This has been in the pipeline for quite a while.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, been chatting for a while now.
Yeah, we have. So look, I do this with every person on the podcast, everyone who comes on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So basically, I kind of started my journey about 7 years ago into personal training. I did an internship in a gym in Leaksop, and I worked very hands-on there for about 3 years. I then kind of moved out, kind of on from that, onto doing more of my own thing, where I moved to a gym in Maynooth. I do classes out in Mac Fitness in Maynooth, and I also do my own personal training there, as well as I set up my online coaching business there last year as well.
Interesting. And I want to come back to that transition from kind of the personal training only into the online and combining those, because after everything we've gone through over the past year and a half, literally everyone is kind of in that boat. And I think it's just an interesting transition, and it offers so many opportunities. But we will come back to that. You talked about starting your journey 7 years ago in terms of into the profession. Growing up, though, were you always sporty? Were you into kind of exercise and fitness, or was this a kind of...
When I was growing up, basically my dad kind of started me off with he bought me a pair of football boots, I think, when I was about 4.
Okay,
and that was it. Then I was into GA, played hurling, played soccer, played it all the way up through the years. So it's kind of always part of my life, and just kind of like from that then. When I left school, I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do. I tried my hand at a lot of different things. So I went and I did an arts course, and that wasn't for me. I actually went and I studied sports and leisure, and I knew that wasn't for me straight away. So then I was just like, why don't I try personal training? And then just I got a love from it for there. So then just continued with it then. So it's great.
Class. Like when you're getting the boots at 4 years of age, you don't really have much choice growing up.
Exactly. Yeah, he's from Mayo, so.
Okay, yeah. As a Sligo man, I can only apologize for our neighbours. So, like you said, you've kind of, as you grew up, you were playing all the major field sports. What kind of, like, did you? And I found this when I was playing sport growing up as well, was that there was very little. There's probably a bit of difference in age between the two of us, Jen. But in terms of, there was very little emphasis on gym and on fitness side of things. It was just turn up and play. And maybe that's indicative of the level I was playing at, rather than the level of interest in fitness. But like, were you introduced to the gym early as part of those things, or was it something separate altogether?
No, to be honest, I don't think, even up until minor, I don't think we ever touched the gym even once. So it's kind of always just kind of my own interests. I think I went to the gym first of all when I was 16, and of course I was one of them people who just went in and worked on upper every single day. So it was never a kind of education or anything around that age. But it just kind of grew on me as time went on, and I realised that you weren't actually able to train upper every day. So
yeah. I was actually chatting to someone who's just joined the site recently, and she was talking to me about her friend, and her friend is like loves the gym and all that, but she spent 2 years in there, and all she's done is lower. So I love the split between the genders of what we just love training, and if we were left to our own devices, the only things we would train like.
Stop. It's any of my clients, I've yet to meet one of them that likes training, the male clients, and I've yet to meet any of them that kind of likes training legs, and then it's the females that are like, I hate training upper, like, so it's you can't win.
No, you can't. So look, we talked about the transformation, or the kind of journey from solely online or in-person personal training to online as well.
Yeah.
What was that solely COVID related, or was that something that was in the back of your head that you wanted to do all along?
Well, I suppose from what age was I? I was probably about 20 or 21 when I first hired my own online coach.
Okay.
And I'm 26 now, so 6 years I've had a coach myself. And just from that, I kind of got an idea in my head where I wanted to actually do that myself. Whereas, like, when I was 20, 21, I didn't really know how to go about it. So I've learned a lot through the years. Like, I've had 3 different online coaches now I've in those 6 years I've learned a lot from. They all do things very differently. So I've kind of like taken a patch from each of them and put it all together. And then I suppose when COVID did come around the first time, that's when I really did kick into gear, because I had no option. I didn't want to be sitting at home doing nothing, earning 300 quid a week. So that's something that really gave me a kick up the arse and got me going with it, you know.
I love the idea of having the coaches and kind of taking the three different coaches and taking what you thought they did well and applying it to kind of your system or your personality or how you work, because that's a really good analysis or a suggestion for how people should approach fitness, especially when they're when they are out on their own. Is don't take everything for gospel and don't disregard everything else. Everyone can teach you something in terms of, and every piece of advice you get has context that you need to kind of apply over what you do, rather than just go, oh, well, that person has said this, so this is what I'm going to do forever and ever and ever.
Exactly, and that's it. Like, it's even what I'm doing now, just because I've taken it from 3 different coaches, doesn't mean that I'm perfect. You know, it's just kind of what I see and my kind of views and stuff. Whereas some clients have come and gone because they didn't agree with stuff that I did. Whereas some clients love what I do. So, you know, it's just kind of whatever person kind of suits your kind of mold. You know.
Yeah, and that's a big thing in terms of just finding the right match, because I think that's often forgotten on social media. Is just like, oh, that person has hundreds of thousands of followers, they must be good at what they do, and they're just going to be selling fucking plans, and B, like, who knows, like, well, you might not have any interaction with them at all because they are just selling plans. So when you are getting an actual coach, having that kind of mesh is good as well. It's important as 100%.
Well. 100%. Yeah.
So you also mentioned there in terms of like the COVID kicked your arse in the gear. Do you think the time you spent from when you first kind of started thinking about it back when you were 2021, the time you spent in person personal training and on the gym floor shaped and helped you? Would you have been the same kind of quality of online coach if you had just gone straight into that kind of side of things?
100% not, because like, just being an in-person coach, like, to be honest, I still would never give it up over the next 10 years, I don't think, because it just helps me understand people so much more, how they work out, basically how they work out without you being there. Because you see it when, like, say I bring a client in. I had a client actually there last week who, she's an online client of mine, but she wanted to come in and do one PT session with me. So I brought her in, and like, it's only so much you can see from some of the videos she sends over as like feedback videos, because like a lot of the stuff she was doing, and now she trains like really, really hard, but a lot of stuff she just needed these quick little tips with, just to kind of get the most out of the exercise. And then she could even told me she could feel it so much more, you know. So like, just being that kind of in-person coach, you just kind of, you know that like going online then, that you're going to be able to give them so much more. You'll have so much more like kind of experience of dealing with people. So like, when you go online then, you could just make the programs to suit that person and be very kind of personalized with it.
Yeah, I obviously you've outlined the real benefits, but one thing that I just think, obviously a lot of people, trainers do just go online, and that's their main source of income. It's what they do. That's great. But there is, just from your own point of view, a mental health point of view, just going down the gym floor and interacting. Because if you're just online coaching, obviously you make time for friends, family, all that sort of stuff. But there's an element of loneliness to it, in that you could spend all of your day just programming for other people and not see anyone else.
Just on a laptop for the day. Yeah. So that's it. Now it does suit some people, and like, to be honest, it's a great career. But to be honest, for me, as I said, I don't think I'd ever give up in-person PT. Even just like a couple of hours a week, as you said, get into and chat to people, chat to your clients, and see how they are, and just have to crack with them as well. Like, you know,
and that comes back to going to the gym as a client as well. Home workouts are great. We've done lots of them. You can do lots of stuff at home, and that's why online coaches are brilliant. But even if you have an online coach, having a gym membership is really important too. Simply because you are getting in and around people. Because again, a lot of us are working from home. You could just spend the life in your home, four walls of your own home, never moving. Yeah. So there's even if you're not talking to like loads of people in the gym, there's an element of getting out there and getting amongst people. It's nice, you know.
100%, definitely.
So we talked about the different types of the work you've done in terms of online and in person. A new client comes to you, Shane. Take whatever way you want to, in person or online, but a new client comes to you. What can they expect?
So from the minute somebody inquires to me for kind of training or whatever it is, I will basically just kind of straight away, I'll have a chat with them, find out what they're struggling with, find out what their problems are, try and find a bit more out about them, like what they do, and just kind of like find out what kind of person they are, like see if they can deal with having, say, maybe a bit more of a kind of strict approach, or see if they can kind of deal with like they need a bit more leniency and to kind of have a bit more kind of an emotional kind of connection towards them. From that, then I will get them to fill out an onboarding client form, where I ask kind of like multi-choice questions, and then just get them to give me a bit more kind of feedback as well. From that, then as well, I'll get them to send me pictures. So I'll get them to kind of send that over with the form that they fill out, just so that I can see kind of where they're at and stuff before I go, and then I'll give them feedback. So I'll give them feedback on their form, just to see if I'm the right coach for them as well. So it's not just me giving them feedback, telling them they need to do this or that. It's just to tell them how I work things on basically what they filled out, and also have a look at their pictures and tell them kind of like a time frame. So like, say if they need to go into like a deficit for a while and lose a bit of fat, I'll tell them, oh, this is how long I reckon it might take. Now, it's definitely not, it probably won't take this amount of time unless you actually stick to it. So it depends. I always give them like a time frame. Say you might go into a 4 to 8 week kind of cut, and then you might go into a bit of maintenance for a while. And now, depending on the person, they might go back into a cut, or they might go into a gainer phase. You know, it's very kind of person dependent. So that's kind of feedback I give them. Let them decide. Then I'll tell them to take time and decide if they want to come back to me and kind of start up with me. Now, a lot of coaches I've actually worked with, I've done a few kind of online kind of business setup, kind of what you call courses.
Yeah.
And they've told me, no, get the client on the phone and get them signed up immediately, because you don't want to miss out on money or whatever. Now that kind of turned me against that, because I don't want to work with somebody who's just kind of like pay me because I pressured them into it. I want to work with somebody who wants to kind of get results. So I tell them to go away, think about it, and then come back to me with whatever they want. Say they come back to me then, I will get them signed up. I'll get them a check-in format sheet. So basically a check-in sheet that they'll fill in for me every Monday. Just asking basic questions on how their week went and what they could have done better or what they did very well, all that kind of thing, how their water intake was, how their food was, all that kind of jazz. As well as that, I'll get them up a training plan on my app, and I'll get them a food sheet done up as well. Now, the food sheet, I don't pressure them into eating the foods that are on the sheet. I'll have the calories and the macros beside all the foods. So if they want to go by a kind of calorie or macro plan, they can do that either. All right. So that's basically kind of how I get them set up, and I'll send all that through to them. And I'll also record a video just running through absolutely everything there, so that they know exactly what they have to do.
Shane, man, there's so much good stuff in there, but the one thing that really jumped out at me, and I suppose this is down to how I do business as well, and how what attracts me to liking certain personalities, is literally what you said about the business courses. You can do so many business courses, and they're all about squeezing the last penny out of everything, every situation.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
For someone like yourself, what it sounds like is you're playing the long game, in that if you get 10 clients in and you end up working with 6, 7, 8 of them, whatever number it happens, and the other two or three are going to be the ones that may not necessarily get the most results, and they're the ones who are going to be the most vocal about your services not being up to scratch or whatever like that. But 100%. if you have those 6 or 7 people, 6, 7 or 8 people who are constantly successful, they're going to be the ones that stick with you. And even when they've got to the point where they're either self-sufficient or they want another goal that another coach can take them on or whatever, they're going to be the ones who are like, they've obviously stayed with you longer than the other person would have, but they're going to be the ones who are spreading the word positively about everything that you do. So just from a business point of view, it might not be the quickest way to a quick buck, but the fitness industry shouldn't be about a quick buck. That's kind of,
that's it. Like, as you said, you don't want to get clients in that are going to give you kind of a bad rep, that are just kind of like pay you the money because they have it there and then just not do the work. And then like it's going to be like your problem. So that's the way I see it. I want to have clients that are there, they're emotionally attached, they want to actually get to their goals, and then they'll do the work, So it makes my life easier, makes their life easier.
And look, I'm all for making lives easier. That is absolutely perfect. So is there something, Shane, that when new clients come to you, you find yourself like constantly having to explain?
Yeah, there is. So so basically I've had like a couple of clients come to me. Now these clients, very, very driven clients, they have experience training, but what they're doing is they're trying to do too much. So they're not allowing their bodies to kind of recover. They're not allowing their bodies to kind of basically be the best body they can have, because they purely think that they're doing all this training, all this kind of cardio with the training, that they're going to get serious results with it. So basically what I kind of have to do is peel them back, basically tell them that less is more. So when they start with me, I basically just have to get them on a basic plan. I'll start them off nearly as if I would with a beginner. So I'll start them off with maybe a 4-day or 5-day, depending on the person, like what they're trying to achieve, and maybe a 4-day or 5-day weights program, if that's what they want. And I'll also like just make sure that's the type of training they want. So if they want athletic-based training, I'll get them athletic-based training. If they want strength training, I'll give them that. But also I'll have an input depending on their body shape, what they need to do as well. So say they come to me anyway, and I put them on a 4 or 5-day weights program. I might start with 1 cardio a week, whereas they might have been used to doing 6 or 7 a week. And what I'm doing there is I'm giving their bodies a chance to actually recover after sessions. Whereas before they might have been just going straight in, doing their sessions, training every single day, and not taking their rest days. So by actually doing less at the start, it's a lot more. So you're going to be actually kind of allowing your muscles a chance to recover. And basically by doing that, your muscles are going to build back better and stronger. And you're basically just going to be able to build on that then. So if you want to get down the line a bit and your body fat starts to stall again, then you can add a 2nd day of cardio to kind of get that kind of push on again. So it's just all about kind of building on it over time slowly, and not starting off 100 miles an hour.
And like, where do you reckon that comes from, Shane, in terms of the idea of having to absolutely flagellate yourself to achieve results? Is that just those people kind of being uber driven and wanting to get there quickly? Is it is it just kind of a societal thing where we want everything really quickly and we don't really care about the kind of long-term the problems we cause?
It's just, I think it's just the type of personality sometimes as well. So like the person that this particular client that came to me, they were literally like an unbelievable trainer, fit as could be, but they weren't happy with their body shape. They were still holding a little bit of fat. They couldn't seem to put on muscle. And that's because they were starving themselves, doing cardio every day and training every single day. And by doing that, they thought they were going to gain muscle, but it's the complete opposite. So like it was like they just needed to be peeled right back. Their cardio needed to be dropped right down. Their food needed to be brought right back up, and they need to be dropped back a day or two on their training plan as well. And it was just like, I think it's when you look at the likes of maybe the likes of David Goggins and stuff on Instagram, when like people are like looking around at Instagram and stuff like that, and they see the likes of him like flat out running every single day and doing 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then they think they have to do that just to kind of get in shape, you know.
And is that like, this is something I asked Ali Murphy a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, and it's a little bit similar, a little bit different, but like, do you find resistance to that when someone comes to you and you have to tell them to, whoa, hold on, like if you do a little less, you'll get more in the long run?
100%, definitely, yeah. So that's like, I always at the very start, I make sure that before they start with me, I'll always have to tell them to trust in the process, trust me, because I'm not going to lead them astray. And like, it's just because I know where they're coming from, because I suppose I used to be like that when I was kind of young. I used to always think training every single day I was going to have a great chest after like, you know, 6 weeks or 8 weeks, you know. But to be like, if it's the complete opposite, you're actually going to lose muscle doing that, because you're not allowing a chance to recover, and it's just going to keep going to rip muscle fibers apart, and they're just not going to recover, so they're not going to build back better and stronger.
Yeah, so you talked there about the idea of kind of staging it. So you did a certain amount until you hit a plateau, and then you upped it again or tweaked the calories or whatever way, whatever avenue you want to go down. Like, how long are we talking about those plateaus? Is a plateau a week? Is it 2 weeks? How long do you kind of wait until, oh shit, we need to kind of act here?
So generally, I'd like to kind of keep on top of it. So I kind of learned this I did a photo shoot prep recently. Took me about 15 weeks. I had a coach obviously looking after that for me. Mark, he was really, really good, and I learned a lot from him. So basically what I do now is I'll take a lot from my kind of own experience into photo shoot prep, and I'll try and keep on top of things. So like, when I see it start to slow down, I won't let it slow down completely, and I'll see them like they might drop fat a little bit slower than the previous week. So I think then to me, it's kind of like, right, now it's time to maybe go a little bit harsher and drop calories slightly, or else you can, like, it's one or the other. You can either drop calories slightly or else you can add a small bit of cardio, or else you can do both if you really, really want to push them, but you just don't give them like 10 days of cardio or something like that, so you can't do that to somebody. You just, at the end of my prep, I was doing, like, this was coming into the second last week, my prep, I was doing 7 days of cardio and 5 weight sessions. So some people do that straight away, whereas at the first week I had like maybe 3 days of 30 minutes of cardio and 5 weight sessions. So just kind of start low and build it up as you go.
But that's the thing. Like, if you do start out too harsh, like, you leave yourself nowhere to go. It's like getting to a 10 on a volume, and where the fuck do you go from here?
Yeah. But that's it. Your body will adapt. So if you kind of go too harsh, too quickly, your body will adapt to that. And then what you do? So if you're eating already 1,200 calories a day, what are you going to do? Drop down to 1,000 and absolutely kill yourself? So what do you do?
Well, that's the question. That's the question. Like, all we can do is keep fighting the good fight in terms of getting this good information out there from good coaches like yourself. Is there that's a bit positive for me, so I'm going to take this down a little bit. Is there something that really bugs you about the industry, or if like questions you get asked, or what is there something out there that annoys you?
Yeah, so just people who want to basically just looking for one-off plans. That's the thing that kills me. It's just because, as I went through already, there's so much more to just plans and stuff. Like, so if I give somebody a workout plan and an eating plan, it might work for them for maybe 2-3 weeks. So they might drop a little bit of fat and they might feel good after their workouts. But after the 3 weeks, as I said already, might start to stall. So what do they do then? They have a one-off plan and they're after paying maybe 80 quid for it. And that's gone in the bin now because they're getting to a stage where they're not seeing any more results and they don't know what else they can do. So basically, they'll come back to you then and they'll say, well, this isn't working anymore. What do we do now? So basically, you need to get people into a kind of coaching phase where I can kind of help them learn as well along the way. So like when I drop people's calories and stuff, I'll tell them why. And when I drop or add cardio, I'll also tell them why. So it's a bit of a learning phase along the way. So by getting a one-off plan, you're not learning anything and you're not going to get results down the line.
And is that, again, it's the underlying things that interest me in terms of this sort of stuff? Is that because we're conditioned, we know like influencers sell this stuff and whatever else? Like, is that where that's coming from, or is this just something that's kind of always been in the industry?
Absolutely, yeah. It's just because we're obviously educated on it, and then some people who go to the gym, they don't really take too much heed of anything else. They don't. They think just getting a program off, say, some influencer or some kind of person that runs the kind of online fitness business or something. They think that they're just going to automatically get serious results just because they got a food plan and just because they got a training plan off that person, because they want to be like them.
I tell you what, it's even cutting this out short a little bit, but like, did you ever do a shit ton of? This is going to be a bad out reference, but do you ever watch do you know The Simpsons? Do you watch The Simpsons?
Yeah.
Do you know The Simpsons episode where Bart is ticking off all the days, and it looks like he's doing loads and loads and loads, and then it comes back and it's like, if I can just get through all these days, I'll have succeeded. That's what it feels like when you get a plan, because you're like, I've done all the planning, I'm sorted, I've done my Excel sheet, I've done this, I've done that, and then it's like, so now I'm done, right? I don't have to actually do all the work here.
Yeah. It's so much easier said than done, isn't it?
Yeah, the planning, it seems like a task in itself when it's not. It's like doing emails and work, apart from maybe when you're an online coach. But when you like doing emails and work, does that actually count as work? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does we get distracted easily with these things? But look, that is a little bit negative and whatever else in terms of what's your worst part of the industry or something that annoys you. Is there something that, like, what's your favorite part of your industry? What's the favorite part of your job?
I suppose just kind of like seeing people transform. Not even just like their bodies or whatever, but just another kind of client I have. She's more of a lifestyle client. She doesn't want to be kind of getting into any kind of like, doesn't want to be getting a 6-pack of abs, doesn't want any of that kind of stuff. But the first time she checked in with me, she was like, here I am, this is where I am, basically told me everything. And it basically her first check-in, so after she started her first check-in, like, she didn't really lose any weight or anything. And she's like, I'm so concentrated on the scales, I really am down because I didn't lose the weight I thought I should have. So all we did was we just kind of re-amended her training plan, or not her training plan, we re-amended her food plan, just dropped out a few calories, and I explained why, and just told her not to be down. And literally over time, she kind of like transformed her mind. So she, like, I think it was the 8th week she checked in, and I had just given her a free meal because she was like going out that weekend. She wanted to have something nice to eat. I was like, forget about it. Just don't track, just have your free meal and relax. I want you to enjoy yourself because you worked so hard over the last 8 weeks. She came in the Monday after, checked in, her weight was up slightly, but she was like, I don't even care. I went to enjoy myself, so I'm not even concentrating on scales anymore. So her mindset just completely transformed over the space of 8 weeks. And it's really cool to see.
That's really cool. And I suppose this, again, I've asked this question a few times. We kind of get into phases of asking similar questions to people because I want to get different perspectives on it. But in terms of tracking and in terms of how people like document their journey with yourself, how do you go about that? Is it just, obviously it doesn't seem to be because you said it talked about photos earlier on, but is it progress photos? Is it scales? Is it, what is it?
Yeah, so basically I have a check-in format sheet, like you said earlier, and just ask all the basic questions you need to know about the week. So obviously I'll have them. They'll tell me how many sessions they got done. They'll tell me how many cardios they got in. They'll tell me how much water they drank each day. They'll tell me how their food was out of 10, say, so maybe it was like a 7 out of 10, or maybe it was a 10 out of 10. And if it's, say, less than a 10, I'll just ask them why it's not a 10. Do you get me? So it's not me giving out to them, just I want to know more about their week. All that kind of thing. And then, yeah, they just fill that out with pictures uploaded on my app, and they'll send it all back to me every Monday. Every Tuesday, then I'll get back to them with feedback. And if any changes need to be made, or if it needs to be stayed the same, if say they did really well, I'll let them know that, and then we can roll on for the next week ahead.
Class. And one question that again has come up a few times lately, and I really want to get people's perspective on, especially coaches, is when a client comes to you, or like, what if you were giving advice to people out there who are looking to get a personal trainer and they've just hired one, they've just engaged with one, how can you be a good client? What's the kind of one thing that makes you a good client?
So to be a good client, I wouldn't even say that you have to be 100% all the time. To be honest, to be a good client, I think you just have to be honest. You have to be prepared to just put in the work. So like, don't just throw somebody your money and then think that's it. So like, actually be honest with yourself, be honest with them, be prepared to put in the work. 90% of the time anyway, and just be coachable. So like when I kind of start up clients with me, I tell them that they need to be coachable, and what I mean by that is that they need to be able to kind of get in touch with me when they have problems. So like, don't just leave it week to week before check-ins. So get in touch with me if they have problems, but also don't ignore me. So like, if I get in touch with them for something, sometimes I'm left in the dark. I see blue ticks, and like, it's just them almost trying to hide, or else I see the message not open completely. So like, I'm not doing that to give out to them. I'm literally just getting in touch with them because I want to help them and I want them to succeed. So just be coachable, be honest, and like be prepared to work.
It's unreal how much it's come back to the point of it's just all about communication. Like, I'm not going to go into it again because we talked about it a bit recently, but like, just the idea of when you're having a bad week is when you literally make your money. And that's also when people kind of do the ostrich and stick the head in the sand, you know?
Yeah, that's it. That's when they need me the most as well. But I'm guilty of it myself as well. I've done it. I've hid from my coach at times, so I can understand it. But it's when you need to like get onto your coach the most is when you're struggling. So I've learned that as well.
Shane, you're also adding 3 songs to our playlist on Spotify, so people can go and check that out. But give us your first song.
So I'm pretty old school, like the classics kind of stuff. The 505 by the Arctic Monkeys. When it drops, it's a fucking banger.
I really like that. That wasn't one that I had heard of the Arctic Monkeys before, but that is a bit of a tune.
Yeah.
And your second song?
Loila by Oasis. Simple again.
You talked about before the first song about it like being a fan of the classics. That is an absolute banger of a classic. I really enjoyed when I was preparing and listening to that earlier on. That was very good. And your third song, Shane?
A different one, so completely different. So as I said before, I'm kind of like, I listen to everything and anything when I'm in the gym. So All That Matters by Kosh. All I care about is that you're always
That is a long song, Shane. I was listening to it earlier.
Very long. You're waiting for the build up for ages as well.
Yeah, it does. But look, again, same as anything else, it's an absolute tune. And
unique.
Sometimes I ask our guests to tell us like why those are the songs, but from what it sounds like, you just love listening to different genres, and it just can be whatever the mood, whatever kind of mood you're in.
It's just the gym we work in. We blare tunes during class. We have proper DJ set up and everything. So I've about 100 different playlists. Honest to God, and I play a different one every single day. So just listen to different ones all the time.
Well, maybe you can add the Gym Advisor playlist to that, because we now have, and this is always the example I use, we have the Pussycat Dolls, and now we have Kulsh, and we have Oasis, and we have Ramstein from earlier on. Someone else added as well. So we have a wild variety on there, and I absolutely love it. Shane, man, you can be found on thegymadvisors.e/O'Grady Coaching, but you're also on social media and all that jazz. Where can people find you?
Yeah, my Instagram is Shane O'Grady PT, and obviously O'Grady Coaching is the name of the business. Yeah,
some good stuff on that Instagram account, so definitely go and follow that. Shane, you're also an affiliate on the Gym Advisors store, so people can get a 10% discount using your discount code. Do you remember it? The big question.
O'Grady 10.
What a man! Straight off the bat. Shane, man, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks a million, Andy. It was great having me on. Absolute pleasure.
Well, it was good crack. We'll do it again sometime soon, I'm no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
To the rest of you, if you're watching on YouTube, thanks very much for putting up with my stupid hat, but also, hasta la fitness, baby.